Mind Over Motor Podcast 4, welcome to the show. What's up, everybody?
It's Sam.
And Nick. And we are back in action.
This is number 4?
This is number 4.
Wow.
Sure hope it's number
4.
Wow. So yeah, we've got a good show lined up here. I have just had a lovely weekend at Amelia Island. And Sam has just got acquainted with the brand new M5 at a special sneak preview because he's got friends in high places.
Sure. I'd rather own one.
Oh, well, you start there, you figure it out, maybe you get the keys for a little bit, and then eventually you get to buy one used when they get to a fair market price. But, you know how it goes. But yeah, no, it's definitely going to be fun. And then we're also going to cover Mitsubishi's new CEO after we get to our happenings personally in the last few weeks. And then we're going to talk about things you can't stand in an economy car.
Yeah, it's very opinionated.
I think a lot. I think everybody who's been in any of these like lower rental cars and stuff like over the years has certain things they just don't tolerate.
This goes against beggars can't be choosers. That whole statement doesn't exist in this segment.
Especially these days. Like there's like no excuse for certain things these days. All right.
Start with Amelia.
We will start with Amelia. Okay, so I just had a lovely weekend down there. Unfortunately, the show was only 2 days long again this year because they forecast shitty weather on Sunday, so they moved everything to Saturday.
Wait, before you keep going, why don't you explain to the people that might not know what the show is?
Oh, okay.
It's like a really brief.
Good call. All right, so the Amelia Island Concours d'Elegance is...
Sounds fancy.
But it is a very fancy auto show, and we're not talking like usually brand new cars. If there are brand new cars, they're like the top of the top. Like the new Mercedes AMG Project 1 was there. That was the new car display. Things like that. It's not like the New York Auto Show where there's like everything. We're talking like the majority of the show itself is like, pre-World War II Rolls Royces and Duesenbergs. And we're talking cars that are restored to a point where they're actually nicer today than they were when they came off the showroom floor.
So is it comparable to like Pebble Beach?
It is. This is basically the East Coast Pebble Beach. It's like the number 2 in the whole country of concourse events, and it just happens to be, since I live on the East Coast, it's a lot easier for me to get there than Pebble. Though I've been to Pebble many times, and I love going to Pebble. It's just more of an ask in terms of effort and whatnot, but. So I try to get to Amelia as many times as I can because it's more of a quick weekend. With that, it's very highbrow. It's held at the Ritz-Carlton Resort on Amelia Island in Florida, which is just north of Jacksonville. It's about an hour outside the airport in Jacksonville. When you get there, you get to Jacksonville and you're in one world, and it's like there's Waffle House and all this other stuff, and you get to Amelia Island and it's like, holy crap, this is like a totally different planet. I think the shows that weekend are held between the Ritz-Carlton and the Omni. Between the two of those on golf courses,
they're pretty big.
It's very high end, very pinky up kind of stuff. But there's auctions. There's a bunch of auctions. You'll see all kinds of cars, insane things on the road that like Pebble Beach. I would say the scale is definitely smaller than Pebble Beach because it's not as long. Like there aren't as many events as Pebble Beach, but it's definitely growing. Whereas Pebble Beach is like a whole week long. There's car events every day, and it's just a huge event over an even more vast area. But it's definitely a good Pebble Beach Junior, and you do see some real quality stuff just driving around if people decide to show up, which I got a couple stories there. So, so that's what Amelia Island is. So on Friday, Friday is the first day we were there, and they basically, like in the Ritz-Carlton, what you do is there's this whole courtyard at the resort. There's people going every which way doing different things. There's the auction previews. There's club meetings, seminars, all like car related. They'll have like some old racing driver give a seminar about what it was like to win the 1955 Le Mans or something like that. And all depends on what you have tickets to. But, there's an auto show in the parking lot. Like the parking lot meaning like, the roundabout in front of the hotel where cars pull off. They park cars all over the place. And there's also test drives by many manufacturers being held throughout the courtyard where you go out on the roads and have yourself like a good, I'd say, as much as 15 to 30 minutes in the car of your choice.
That's a lot of time.
It really isn't bad.
It's like a decent amount of time.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, you really do get a feel. Now, I will say the roads aren't maybe as good as they are in Pebble in terms of like curvy and like on the coast, like, kind of a dream scenario. It's like, it's a lot of like, there's a couple areas where there's some corners and but most of it's just like straight, and then there's roundabouts. So you got to watch out for cops if you're going to be dicking around. But, I've always had a good time with it, and it's always nice going down there in March because it's very like it's much warmer than it is up here.
Mm-hmm.
So like you go down there and it's like an early springtime basically. So you're driving around in something without a roof, and this year was like something classic. But I'll get to that. So so yeah, there's just tons of stuff going on Friday, and then Saturday is more of that plus a massive cars and coffee they hold on the golf course.
Mm-hmm.
And then this year, normally they would put the concourse show itself, the big one, on Sunday, but they moved that to Saturday this year too. So they had the cars and coffee on the golf course across the way, and then they had the whole concourse where it normally is on the main golf course.
Wow.
So Saturday was nuts.
It's like an event-packed day there.
It was. I mean, we got so sunburned. We were up at like 5:36 in the morning. Both of those days just to get there early enough, because a lot of the test drive situation is like first come first serve, and there's a line.
Does it like stop after a certain time? I assume
Well, they fill up the list basically.
Even
we didn't even get we were too late to Porsche this year to even get in line for a 911. If you're not there in the first hour, you're not going to drive a 911.
Really? Wow.
Not that I cared. The car I really wanted to drive, I still got in there on Porsche. So the cars, I guess we should just go into that.
Yeah.
The cars I did drive down there, all right, so there's a bunch. But in terms of ones that I'm actually going to do articles on, there was like 5. So we started at Alfa Romeo, actually. We wanted to get a quadrifoglio done if they had one, but unfortunately they didn't have any quadrifolios. But we did drive. They just had the 2-liter models, the Stelvio and the Giulia, but they both had all the sport options. It was like the TI models with all the good stuff. And so I got to try the Stelvio for the first time. I've already driven the Giulia and I loved it.
It's an ugly car.
I disagree.
I think continue.
I disagree
before we
with that.
Start tangenting.
But so I got to drive the Stelvio, and then I got to drive the Giulia right after that, back to back. And I got to really compare. And I will say we were there early enough that the roads were still pretty clear, and the route we went, and I got to really throw those things through their paces on a few stints during our drive. And I will say I'm just totally sold on Alfa Romeos right now. I think I must have one some way, somehow. I'm figuring out how. But honestly, my biggest revelation was from the driver's seat, the Stelvio is really not any worse than the Giulia at all. Back to back, you can notice just a little bit less responsiveness because it's higher ride height.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean just a hair. If the Giulia's 100, we're talking a 95. You know what I mean? It's in terms of other small SUVs like that, this thing's not even in the same league as a driver's car. It's totally way sharper. Genuinely fun, and I would buy a Stelvio if I had to get an SUV as a compromise. I would have no qualms about driving a Stelvio.
Is it does it have a lighter steering feel or heavier
light?
Light.
It's light and really sharp.
That's very opposite of a lot of manufacturers. Because a lot of manufacturers do the artificial or real.
Yeah, it doesn't feel artificial at all. That's one of the biggest things with the Alphas is they still have this really tactile, connected feeling in their steering.
4Cs style.
Not that. That was go-kart, but that literally has no power assist at all.
Yeah.
This is really good power steering. It's more similar to the way a Ferrari feels. You still get, it's light, but you get tons of road feel. And so you get this you get this sense of just a really direct connection with the road surface. And I will say, so I drove these Alphas, and then I drove the Infiniti Q50 Red Sport, or the Q60 Red Sport, the coupe.
Yeah.
Full options, all the carbon and everything. It was this beautiful car. But all those Alphas kind of ruined that car for me because, don't get me wrong, the Red Sport was 400 horsepower, all-wheel drive, way faster than the
heavy.
Alphas. I mean, it's heavy,
but those things are pretty heavy.
It is pretty heavy. I mean, I think it's 2 tons, whereas the Alphas were A little less, a couple
Yeah.
100 pounds less than that, but I think still like 3,500 plus. But you know what it was? It was just the dynamics. Like the Q50 was unbelievably fast. But man, that has the steering by wire.
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't even have like a...
Oh, that's like, doesn't have a physical connection, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And dude, when you go from an Alfa Giulia to that, you just feel like, you don't even feel like you're hardly driving a car. It took me a minute to like I'm actually piloting this.
I think that goes into like the discussion of like, that's totally different markets, I feel like.
Well, they're kind of similar. I
mean, they are
the
similar.
Q50 is competing with the Giulia.
But I think like the buyers they're attracting, they're like totally different buyers.
That's true. I mean,
like
don't get me wrong, the Infiniti is going to be a lot more reliable.
And like that, I would say the Alpha is trying to go after, like the M3, the Quattrofolio at least. And But then like the Infinities, I feel like that's more of like it's sporty. It is
sporty and it's power. Quick. I will say there's a trick I figured out. There's no launch control, but it's just real simple. My car had all-wheel drive, and it's got the twin-turbo V6, 400 horsepower. Drive? That one was. Wow. Yeah, it's optional.
Interesting.
And so what you do is all you have to do to launch the thing is you just power brake it. You step one left foot on the brake, right foot on the gas, floor the gas. It spools up. You feel it go, and then you just let off the brake, and it absolutely takes off. That was like the most fun part of the Q60. Otherwise, it was. I mean, look, if I drove the Q50 Red Sport before, and that was a lot better, but like when you drive a car as tactile and engaging as the Alpha, and then you hop in that Infiniti, it kind of neuters the rest of the experience other than the horsepower. Like, it was a nice car, don't get me wrong. I would recommend it to people. I would even consider buying one in the right scenario, but man, I don't want that car the way I wanted the Alphas, because the Alphas just have this. There's just something about the way the Italians built cars that just... Even I did not expect the Stelvio to be that crazy good. It's more like, it really feels like a rally car. It doesn't really feel like a crossover SUV.
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
It just seems like it's probably one. It just seemed like an afterthought type of thing. Like a lot of like the new was it the
Urus.
Yeah. It just seems like I think Nick and I talk about this, but just bringing money to the company so that they can do cooler things to their sport lineup. So that's what I initially thought, because Alfa released that car pretty quick.
Yeah. And it was kind of just like, okay, Americans, here's your crossover, but like the fact that it's got the dynamics and that it's like a satisfying driver's car, like it's not just like kind of sporty. Like the thing begs to be thrashed.
Is it what chassis is it in?
I think it's on the same chassis as the Giulia. It's just like raised up.
Is the wheelbase longer, or is it?
I don't think so. Honestly, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure it's on... Because I know they're making a Quattrofolio version of it, which I'm sure is going to be filthy. Like, that's got to be insane. After driving the normal one and realizing how good that was, I can't even imagine.
What's the equivalent of that? Like the F-Pace?
Nah, that's even the Quattrofolio is going to be 500 horsepower. That's like the Mercedes GLC 63 AMG, basically.
I love those.
Which they had there too, just sitting. They weren't test driving that, but that thing was cool. The Quattrofolios, those are even a whole different story. But if you're just looking for like basically a 4-door sports car or a crossover that drives legitimately, I'm not clichéing this. I'm serious. Like that drives as much like a sports car as you will find. These Alfa Romeos are the cars for you. Go drive one. You might hear this and that about the reliability, whatever. Go drive one. You can't talk until you've really driven it. You're just save that, because that will change your mind. You will be so much more forgiving of the faults when you realize how high the benefits are.
Until 5 years later, and then you have a massive mechanical breakdown.
Actually, well, I mean, granted, it hasn't been 5 years, but most of the problems from what I have researched, most of the problems with these Alphas seem like they're software related, and that's similar to my girlfriend's Jeep. She has a Renegade, and she's on her second Renegade. The first one she leased, and then she bought one, a new one. So we had a 15, and then she bought a 16. And basically, when she bought 15, it had just come out, and they had they kind of just have to do these updates. Mm-hmm. And in the beginning, there's a lot of software updates while they're still figuring some things out.
Yeah, because they're getting hacked.
Okay. I mean, maybe, I don't know, But like, no, it's just like little things that aren't tight. You know, like little things that should be tighter about the car.
It's like typical
little faults and
typical
stuff.
FCA move.
Yeah, it is. But you got to realize that FCA operates like that. So a lot of these initial problems with the Alphas, I'm looking at these issues. Like even the issue where it like shuts down on the road. That's a software problem, I think. I'm like pretty damn sure that that's a software problem because it's not a mechanical failure.
No big deal.
It's don't get me wrong, it's a problem. It is definitely a problem, but it's it's one that down the road once they fixed it, it's fixed. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not like like a Vanos issue that's like a ticking time bomb and it's going to cost you $20,000.
Yeah, it's like the Porsche, was it the
IMS bearing.
Yeah.
I had a whole conversation on the flight down. I was wound up sitting next to this Porsche racing instructor guy who does that for like the Porsche club.
Yeah.
And he was telling me all about the IMS bearing issue and everything like that. And I was fascinated because like it turns out my dad's car is probably going to need another one. Who knew? But whatever. But I learned more about all that crap on the flight down than I ever really wanted to. But it was a cool conversation. But all right, so keep moving. Right after the Q60, I got my phone call from Porsche, and I hopped in the new Panamera 971 Sporturismo Turbo.
The whale.
Some people might call it that, but it's a whale with a beautiful tail.
Whale.
It is a beautiful whale. I will say this new generation of Panamera, I think, I liked the last one, but I think this new generation looks so much better.
I completely agree.
It's so much crisper.
So nice.
Yeah, and the wagon too, especially, is like, I fell in love with that car.
Yeah. I know a lot of people hated it when it first came out, the design. Yeah. It's like not a real Porsche.
It's a little bulbous.
Even if it's not a Porsche, it just looks, the proportions look weird.
But that brings me to the biggest thing about these Panameras, and I'll say this: I felt this when I first drove a Panamera a couple years ago. I was a GTS, and since then I drove the E-Hybrid of the last gen, and then I drove the Turbo of the facelifted last gen, and then I drove this Turbo. And I will say every single Panamera has, people can say it's not a real Porsche all they want, but when you drive the car, it drives like a Porsche. It drives like it on the road. And I mean, look, unless you're really like thrashing it like 10/10ths, you'll feel the weight at that point, of course. But when you're just getting a brisk pace on the road, it drives like it's 1,000 pounds lighter than it is. And it feels smaller than it is. And it responds like a Porsche should. And it really just, there's no mistaking that you're in a Porsche. And I say that having, the first time I drove one, I had driven a 911 right before. I drove a 991S Cabriolet, and then I hopped in a Panamera GTS. And the truth is, in most scenarios, until you really were pushing on it, that Panamera felt just as good as the 911.
It's just very responsive.
Very, very responsive, and it's always eager. It's not like, and don't get me wrong, it's not like to the point where it's uncomfortable or like
that was my second question, actually.
Yeah, no,
that car is kind of a GT car in a way. It
is.
So that's why I was like, maybe it's not a good thing that it's so responsive.
It plays the sports car role, though.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Good. And obviously these days there's the modes and stuff. So if you want comfortable, you turn the exhaust flaps off and you put it in normal mode and just relax and comfort. But then when you put it in sport or sport plus, like, oh my God, it turns into a whole other animal. And my God, like that thing is a pretty heavy car. Like I think it's over 4,500 pounds, but dude, it's pretty big. That motor is quote unquote 550 horsepower from the 4-liter twin turbo V8. Now, I mean, like I think it's a little underrated to be as fast as it is.
Yeah. It's 4-wheel drive, right?
All-wheel drive.
All-wheel drive.
And it has PDK, which is one of the best dual clutches on the market.
I will not argue that.
It is the whole package, man. If you need a car that's like a practical supercar, like that thing is. If you need like an all-purpose supercar type of thing, that is. I mean, granted, you pay for it. I think the car I drove was probably, with the options, $200,000. But, man, you don't feel like... You never forget you're in something special. It had that...
It's a beautiful car.
It had that feeling about it. And, like, it's like we talked about earlier today separately was... I always felt like in the BMWs and the Mercedes, I've driven a couple M cars, M5s, M6s. I've driven a CLS AMG... I've driven a few of the Jags, and I will say with a lot of those cars, now granted they cost a lot less, but with a lot of those cars, when you're not driving fast, you'll forget you're in something that special. In a Panamera of any of the ones I've driven, you never ever are allowed to forget you're in a Porsche just by the way the car feels on the road.
And also feel, but like I know it's a different topic, but more so like the looks. Like even like the new BMW M3. Sometimes I have to look double take and be like, is that an M3 or is that just the M Sport package on a 335 or something? Yeah. Because they're making them look extremely
well, yeah, well, they're offering all the M Sport packages.
Yeah,
and it makes it look like it gets aggressive. You have to double take.
It kind of like dilutes the
M experience.
Yeah. So
it's kind of true. Like, yeah, I mean, because it used to, like
used to be able
a few generations ago, like the only crazy looking 3 Series was an M3.
Yeah, like everything
the rest
else
of them look like mundane. Yeah. But now they're kind of trying to give people that spice down low, and like that's but what
it's just money.
I mean, it is money. It's something else they can upcharge for sure. But
but going back to the Panamera,
I was blown away by it, and I would say that.
Would you say that was your favorite drive at the show in terms of as an experience? Not like that was the best car.
Nah, my favorite drive at the show in terms of a driving experience was the Alfa Romeo Giulia. And it really is because they took a different route than most of the other people did, and there's this one like fast sweeping corner, and I took it at like 90 miles an hour, and that thing just fucking ate it up.
Was it on stock tires? Like stock as in dealership?
No, it was like, dude, these things
what are the tires that come with?
I didn't look, honestly. I don't know exactly. But they're decent summer performance tires.
I'm sure
but it's just the total experience there. Now, don't get me wrong, the Panamera I got to throw it through another corner. Not that corner, but a different corner is a little tighter.
Yeah.
And I took some speed and got on the gas hard getting out of that.
I'm sure that was more fun because it was heavier. So you kind of hit the limit quicker in that setting.
What was amazing is like what I realized when you do that is you realize how much that car really does drive like a sports car. At least in the like maybe like 6 or 7/10 range, because when you start to lean on it, it gets tighter, like a sports car should. Whereas like some cars, when you really start to push them, they'll start to come undone. But the Panamera, I think, is going to like stay that tight until it lets go because of its weight.
What's the suspension on it? Is it air?
That I don't know.
Because if it is air, a lot of cars actually
might have had the adjustable shocks on it.
Yeah, because if that's the case, then you'll definitely feel it.
Yeah,
because it'll push the outside shock.
No, it stayed just like when I was like flat, on it, it stayed real tight. And I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, so the Panamera was definitely the most baller car I drove this time around in terms of the price tag and like the image and stuff that. Like the last time, the most baller car I drove was a Ferrari California, and we tried to get on the Ferrari list this year. We were first on the waiting list, but the quote unquote waiting list, like who's gonna miss their appointment to drive a Ferrari for free? You know what I'm saying? So like nobody missed their appointment. It was a shame because they had the Lusso and the 488 Spider, and it was like I was looking at this. I'm like, come on, somebody missed their shit.
Should wake up earlier next year.
Dude, we got there before they even started. But I don't know. So a lot of these places book it full, and I think last time they just happened to not have it fully booked or something like that. Because we got there early, we got on lists, and it's a crapshoot every time.
Yeah,
it's okay. But now the Panamera is blown away, and I think of the super sedans, that exact car, the Sport Turismo Wagon Turbo, that is definitely my favorite of the super sedans at this point, all things considered.
Sounds like a pretty good segue to the next topic.
Well, wait, we're not done with the test drives yet, man.
Oh, boy.
All right, so these won't be quite as long, probably.
Oh yeah.
I drove a couple of the Infinities. Not really worth mentioning too much. We drove a Jag F. I got to sit in traffic in the Jag F Type at the end of the day. How was that?
Actually,
I got
legitimately.
It was a V6. I picked the V6
I'm
on purpose.
Legitimately curious because those cars are pretty affordable.
They're also pretty unreliable.
Sure, but they look amazing for the price tag.
They sound amazing. They drive amazing.
Yeah,
they're fast. I just really got to like stop, accelerate hard, listen to the car, slow down. It was the traffic. That was at the end of the day, and the traffic was so bad by then that it was basically like.
Was it pleasant though? Like,
it was pleasant.
Yeah.
No, it's a really, like, the seats are, like, very kind of racy. Like, it's a very aggressive car. It's not like a lay back and chill kind of GT car. It's very much a sports car. But so like, all right, so I guess the unique cars, like the really unique cars we got to drive was we drove a 1960 Plymouth Fury convertible, which is one of those basically like you picture it was a 60, but you picture like a 50s big American convertible with the big fins and stuff, and like it had all of that. This was black with like a red and white and black interior. It was like it had pimp dice on the dash. It was the whole bit. It was awesome. And like it had like push button gear selector and stuff.
That's awesome.
And it's I think right now it's the oldest car I've ever driven. And that thing was just like it was. What the biggest thing for me was it didn't have power brakes and it had drum brakes all around.
Oh, so you had to like really
terrifying.
That the cars must be heavy too. Right?
And when you're the driver's seat, the seatbelt was stuck underneath the seat, so you didn't have a seatbelt when you're driving.
Who cares?
Which is insurance nightmare, but whatever. Like,
it's not like it's gonna help you anyway.
No, yeah, but the problem, I mean, in a way, it's like that car is like such not a driver's car in so many ways. Like it's not a sports car at all; it's just a cruiser.
Yeah.
But like in some ways, it really is a driver's car these days because you have to anticipate 10 steps ahead because those brakes don't really work.
So you're saying a driver's car is a dangerous car?
It kind of, kind of. I mean, you're immersed in the driving experience. Yeah. You're immersed out of fear
Probably the most
rather than enjoyment. But it was definitely cool, and it was a convertible, and it was cool to just like cruise around in that thing. And you know, it's got like I think I had like a 318 V8, and it was cool. It had some torque or whatever. It wasn't fast, but
it's cool.
Like it was just a cool experience.
Yeah, it was like a little time warp.
I was amazed though, like you know, you picture those old cars. This has some of the most overboosted steering I've ever felt. Like it, you literally could steer it like this with one finger.
It's usually the opposite. Yeah. Like you have to steer. You have to spin the wheel 3 times to go a little like. Turn
oh no! Yeah, you did have to turn it a lot.
Oh,
but the effort, there was no effort. You could spin it with one finger.
It's kind of scary.
It is, and there's no like road feel whatsoever. Like the way the Americans did it back then was like it was an interesting solution, but yeah, it feels more like a boat. Like it was cool though. It was really cool. And then I guess the finale for the test drives at Amelia was the Camaro 1969 Chevrolet Camaro SS 396. So this is the first period muscle car that I've ever driven, and God be praised, it was a 4 on the floor. As you know what I mean, just as they originally intended. None of that automatic crap. So I got to drive a real muscle car for the first time, and what an experience! I mean, I will say, like,
how was the whole like shifting experience?
The shifting experience was, you know what the craziest thing was? The clutch engaged. All right, so the ergonomics of the seat suck, and you being so tall, you would have an even harder time than I did because the seat didn't go back any further. Oh. So I was like really close already, and I was like basically engaging the clutch like this. The clutch
doing
engaged
like a squat.
Yeah, I was kind of doing a squat, and the clutch engaged, I shit you not, like right at the top of the travel. So you're like literally your knees and like your chest when the clutch lets in.
Sounds like my car.
Yeah, it was crazy. But like, yeah, the shifter itself was pretty good. It was a 4-speed, so it was pretty tall gearing. So I think I only really got in like third. I never saw 4.
Wow, third.
Yeah, no, I mean, I probably had it up to like 70 or so.
All right,
give or take. I did a bunch of like
second. Probably do 100 at like second gear.
Well, no, you know what though? Like, it was not fast. Like it was. I mean, it was like kind of quick, but like it was rated at 325 horsepower.
When it first came
in
out?
1969.
Oh yeah, it's probably like.
Well, no, they changed the definition of horsepower. So 325 horsepower back then equates to about 240, 250 horsepower today. And so, honestly, it felt about that. It was like, I would say it was about Focus ST fast. In gear.
All right.
Like, in-gear acceleration's like about a Focus ST. Not bad.
Not bad.
Fun.
For how old it is.
And the experience it has. Yeah, you got that rumbling V8 and it's bright orange. It was awesome. Like, But, like, you hear all these muscle car guys like, yeah, she's got almost 400 horse. Like, no, she doesn't. Not in SAE net horsepower.
Yeah.
like 200 horsepower today is the equivalent of like 350 horsepower back then. Mm-hmm. Just FYI or whatever, something like that. 300.
Never knew that.
Like, yeah. So like all the muscle car stories, like, even one of our coworkers was like, oh yeah, but they were so underrated. I'm like, dude, trust me, this thing had like 250 horsepower. Like, everyone loves to tell their stories about the muscle cars, but kid you not, This thing was rated at 325, and it felt all of 240 in modern terms. But it was awesome. It was a great experience.
Even if it had like 100 horsepower, I feel like I would have had a great time. Just like the whole experience would have been fun.
It's totally mechanical. That was the other thing. It's like a driver's car. It's like everything is just 100% mechanical. Like there's no fuel injection or anything like that. Like
where the gear rest, or you had a carburetor.
Yeah, you had a carburetor. It did have synchro, so I didn't have to rev. I didn't have to double clutch or anything like that. It was full synchro mesh, but still, it was just this totally engaged and fun driving experience because you just have the style, you got the sound, and you have a fair amount of speed. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't slow.
Yeah,
but it wasn't as fast as people like to talk about them being. It was, in modern terms, it was very medium by modern terms.
Fair enough.
It was cool. It was awesome.
Yeah, it sounds awesome.
I'm glad I got to try it. So, all right. So that's, so I guess the only thing left to cap off is the two most epic cars I've ever seen on the street.
Let's hear them.
While I was driving the Porsche, we saw a McLaren F1 go by on the road. Only time I saw this car the whole weekend. Didn't get a single. Actually, we got it on video. The guy was the Porsche guy who was.
What color was it?
It was white with the aero package. So it looks kind of like an LM, but it's not an LM.
I've never seen a white one.
It's amazing, and supposedly the owner's really young. I've seen it once before at Pebble Beach, and I saw the owner. He's way younger than we are. But it's hey, his dad rolled up in an F50, and they crawled out together like owning the streets. But damn. I saw him go by here, and I was just like, oh my god, it's a McLaren F1. So of course, how does it get any better than that? Well, I get back, park the Porsche, and all of a sudden I walk up into the courtyard, and there's a CLK GTR just sitting there, and I'm like,
freaking race car.
Damn, and it was one of the people I follow on Instagram, so I actually kind of expected to see it because I knew he was in the state. Yeah. And I'm the world to somebody who's got that much money is a very small place. So if you're in southern Florida in the morning, you can have your car in northern Florida by the afternoon. Mm-hmm. So sure enough, this thing was there. It was a silver CLK GTR, and oh my god, it was only the second one I've ever seen in person, and the only one I've ever seen that was on the street or in public. He drove it in, parked like a boss. The guy the Mercedes display was actually right there, and the guy who was running the Mercedes display, he's like, hey, if you want to park with the AMGs, park with the AMGs. So he did, but the guy was so nervous though, because this is those other cars are $200,000. This car's worth $8 million.
Yeah,
and people, and I don't even think the doors lock or anything, because people were going and open the door, and the guy was like, get away from it, he was so nervous because now he's
he brought it out. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, no, I mean,
the fact that he even brought it out.
He drives his cars though. That guy, I don't even need to name him, but I've heard that gentleman drives the crap out of his.
That's
cars,
awesome.
Which is awesome.
Yeah,
it's
I love that.
Sick. So the fact that you drive it, roll up in a CLK GTR, that must be so awesome to be in something like that and know that you're I posted the gallery today, and I was like, this, some people buy cars that turn heads. This is a car that makes dreams come true.
No, it doesn't.
Dude, when you're a little kid and you see that.
Makes your head retarded. Just look at it and just
When I was a kid and I'd never seen I've only played those in video games and seen them on the websites and stuff. When you see that in person,
I've never seen one in person, but yeah, as a kid, I legitimately thought that it was a photoshopped car.
Yeah, it looks that way.
When I saw that, I was like, that's not a real car. Someone just got a Mercedes and just did something.
And people who really don't know about it, they're looking at this what on earth? Because most people have seen that generation of CLK.
Yeah, it's there's nothing really going on.
It's just squashed, but
super
it's
boring.
Race car.
And this one has a freaking engine scoop on the top.
Yeah.
And then it has what else?
It's got a mid-mounted V12, basically from a Le Mans car. It's literally a road-going Le Mans car. On the inside, there's no seats. There's padding stuck to the firewall in the shape of the seats.
The Lamborghini.
It's very race car. Yeah, it is. And actually, it's a paddle shift, but it has a clutch.
It has a clutch.
It is a sequential gearbox.
That's an F1 car.
It's like a bike. Yeah, it was a lot like the F1 cars.
Because F1 cars, you have to use a clutch for gear 1.
Yep, exactly.
And then after that, you just shift.
Yeah, but it's like that generation of paddle shift.
Yeah, that must be a pain in the ass to drive.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, there's nothing about it that's a good street car.
Pain in the ass.
but man, it's bitching. It looks amazing parked in front of the Ritz-Carlton.
I'm sure he stalled it many times.
That would have been really funny if he. Yeah. I didn't actually see it when he rolled out, but it would have been really funny if he got it going and then stalled in front of hundreds of people.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either. Those gearboxes are really hard to start.
Yeah, I guess it's like a bike or something, like one of those sequentials. I've never driven anything I've driven one motorcycle that had that kind of gearbox, and it was interesting. It wasn't that hard on the bike, but I feel like in a car, and that ergonomics like that in a car like that, oh man,
in traffic,
yeah. And that's the thing is, I know when he left, traffic was awful. That was right after I got back. He
probably put it in neutral. Called his peasants.
I think he left. He left while I was out in the E-Type because it wasn't there when I got back. So he was stuck in that same traffic. So I'm sure he was working the clutch.
Probably
I don't know. Who knows? He probably had his helicopter pick him up or something like that. Yeah, who knows? Yeah.
It's awesome.
When you're a billionaire, the world is literally your oyster.
Mm-hmm.
But that's awesome. Hey, props to him for driving his cars.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Sick stuff. But all right, let's move on. Enough about my crap. I had a fun time. Let's talk about that new M5, man.
Are you going next year?
What?
Are you going to Amelia next year?
Every year it's up in the air, man.
Yeah.
It's kind of it depends on what else is going on. I didn't go in 2016 or 2017, but I did go this year and I went 2016. So I try to make it at least every other year, but I'd like to go every year if I could.
Pebble Beach or Amelia?
There's been years where I've gone to both. It's expensive.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. If I had to choose one.
Okay, how about you help some of the listeners out, and for the ones that are starting to be car enthusiasts and they kind of want to go to something more engaging, I guess, would be more fun.
Yeah. This is not your run-of-the-mill car show. This is a very immersive experience.
Totally. But if they want to go to a more immersive, full, big experience, as in these huge car shows, which one would you recommend? Do you have to? Oh yeah, first, do you have to wear anything nice?
No, not really. Some of I guess if you're going to some of the more baller events and stuff, there may be a dress code. But if you're just going to the show and stuff, you have. So I can come in
a clean T-shirt.
Yeah,
and
jeans. Most people are there in jeans and stuff. You'd be surprised how informal some of these really hoity-toity events.
Yeah, I'm sure they're sick of wearing.
I think Pebble Beach might have a dress code, but that's holy crap! You people are really.
Yeah, that's where steam engine cars.
Yeah, that's and they have those in Amelia, but Amelia I think Amelia does feel a little more chill than Pebble Beach.
Cool.
I will say, all right. So if you're a car person and you want to Amelia, I don't want to take anything away from Amelia, but my life changed when I first went to Pebble Beach. The insanity of that whole week and everything around it is, if you're a car person, there's absolutely nothing really like that. Maybe over in Europe with Villa d'Este or Gooding or Goodwood or any of that, maybe, but in the United States, there's nothing like Pebble Beach. It just the stuff you see on the road, the cars you can drive, if you're old enough, and on somebody's lists, I guess, or really good at talking your way into things like I am. Or and just the number of events that are there and the people that show up. And that's true at Amelia Island. I was on the same flight down as Valentino Balboni this year. He was in first class and I was not, but we were on the same airplane. So, it was cool. You see people. I saw Michael Strahan was there this year and stuff. You see people, but then you see celebrities at Pebble Beach too.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But I guess if I had to pick, I would pick Pebble. But I would say Pebble's probably, for me at least, it's double the cost, maybe more, and it's double the amount of vacation time. So Amelia, you get a lot for the time and the money you spend.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like a weekend.
So you would say probably Amelia. To start, if you were...
It's the easiest one for me to get.
Budget, time...
Yeah. But, if you were at home in Cali...
Yeah.
Pebble.
Yeah.
Because you'd have to fly cross-country to go to Amelia, and I would say it's not even worth it.
No, right. Totally.
You know what I mean? I will fly cross-country for Pebble, for sure. Right. It is worth it.
Right.
And Amelia is probably worth it if you're like really invested. But if you had to pick one and you're already on the West Coast, go to Pebble.
Yeah, and then take PCH all the way up north.
Yeah,
or
that
down,
I've never done.
Whatever.
That sounds. Yeah, I'm sure that's amazing.
North or south doesn't matter.
Yeah, talk about scenery. We don't have scenery like that here.
Yep.
But yeah, no, it's crazy. But Pebble will change your life. Amelia will. Amelia's crazy, and if you've never been to an event like that and you go to Amelia, you'll be like spinning still. But then if you went to Pebble like say you just magically went to Pebble the next day,
yeah,
Pebble would be like that much more. You know what I mean?
Awesome.
It's that crazy.
Sounds awesome. I need to go to one.
You do. There's ones around here, even the smaller concourse, like Greenwich is actually pretty damn
good.
Yeah,
you were telling me
Greenwich
about
is like, you will see Paganis on
May?
the road in Greenwich. Like,
May?
Or first weekend in June.
June, gotcha.
Yeah, we'll probably go to that.
Yeah, for sure.
I go every year for sure, so you definitely come.
Yeah.
It's you stay one night in Greenwich, or like around there, and you have a good time. We always smoke cigars and stuff. So it'll be fun.
Sweet.
Be good stuff. All right, man. Let's move on.
Panamera to the F90 M5. The ultimate driving machine.
The BMW fanboy.
That is not I. Extremely unbiased.
Yeah.
I just see the facts and I just say it as it is. Right?
Sure. Yeah, you're unbiased if you're a BMW fan.
All right. To lay down the groundwork here, I am a BMW fanboy, but I will admit that BMW has kind of lost its, what would you say?
A little bit of its original mojo.
Yeah, I would say the last real mojo was the E46. I think a lot of people would agree with that. If maybe I
would say the E90 M3 was pretty up there.
Yeah, and I feel like after that, kind of it just slowly went downhill.
But you know what? I would also, to be fair to BMW, I would say that, the original mojo that they've lost in terms of being like a wolf in sheep's clothing for enthusiasts, they've gained in other areas. BMWs in all markets they're in, it's now like the ultimate do everything machine. It's not really the ultimate driving machine. It's the ultimate, like, it's fast, it's practical, it's comfortable, it has every feature you can possibly imagine, and it drives pretty damn satisfyingly for people that are really going to buy it.
Yeah, and I think that's why I don't like it. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's watered down. They used to just be like, it's like, oh, this nice sedan, and then if you're an enthusiast and you really push it, you got a sports car, any model.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we bring that up because the new F90, the new M5 is definitely, I would say, a huge pivoting point for the company. Just in terms of technology, more so in the whole driving experience, more than like the interior. There's a lot of new things going on in that car. It's
got a lot of toys.
Yeah, that we can probably see, I would say, in the near future in different models, based on the feedback they get from this car. But let's start off with, I guess we can talk about I think the transmission is probably the most interesting. I would say because I'm pretty positive that it's the only car that you can go from full rear-wheel drive to full all-wheel drive in the push of a button. Like full, not like 90% rear and then 10% front. Like fully 100% to the rear wheels and then switch it back to...
In that class, I honestly, I'm not an expert on that exact thing, but I think the Focus RS can do that in drift mode, but that's not in that class.
No, they can't. It can't.
I thought it completely shuts off the front wheels.
I'm pretty positive it doesn't.
I don't know.
Yeah, I remember I was watching a review and they were talking about that. When you do drift mode, it's not really rear wheel drive only. It's
really?
Something with a computer.
It still pulls a little bit.
Yeah. I'm pretty. Don't quote me on that, but I'm like 90% sure that's the case.
Yeah. Again, I'm not 100% sure on either of these things, and I know the Mercedes, the E63 AMG has something like that, but I agree. I don't think it's
not 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
that's interesting.
That's for that much horsepower, which I believe is 6.
It's a quote unquote 600 horsepower.
600. I think it's a little over that.
Or 60 something.
Yeah, it's 6. Yeah. Let's look it up right now.
But yeah, that kind of horsepower is a lot, and I mean it's a lot for rear wheel drive.
Yeah,
Especially
I'm glad they did.
If you're
it is 600.
If you're not an
quote,
expert
unquote.
driver, like in a big car like that, like when those wheels start spinning and that weight gets out of control, that's a lot of car to have to control.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for an average driver,
600 horsepower to the rear wheels.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
And I think it's a conservative 600 horsepower.
Yeah,
I think it's a German 600 horsepower.
Yeah,
at like in Denver on 91 octane, it's 600 horsepower.
Yeah, exactly.
It's probably I'll be curious. I bet in rear wheel drive that puts 6 down. I bet that puts 600 to the wheels.
So probably like 650,
680.
680,
I bet,
because of the weight,
something like that. I mean, we'll see. We'll see when the dynos come out. But I know the F10 M5 was quote unquote 550 too.
Oh, that thing was.
But it was like 530 to the wheels or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, okay, so 20 horsepower loss. Okay,
yeah, right.
Sure.
Yeah.
You drive it and it's as fast as a Lamborghini Gallardo. You're like, yeah.
If you tune those things, those are freaking.
Dude, I just drove a stock one with the power package, and it was like 575 horsepower, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And I shit you not, to 125 miles an hour, it's as fast as a Gallardo 560. Like,
yeah, I believe it.
With 5 people in the car,
comfortable,
comfy. Like it was, I could not believe what I was experiencing.
Yeah, I think that's what BMW kind of is now.
Yeah,
I guess that's why the whole stigma of douchebag BMW drivers, because you can drive fast without really.
If they didn't have the brand image, it would be a sleeper. But the problem is people see BMW and they're like, "Ooh, that's a nice car. That must be really fast." But like, if they didn't have that, if it was some other brand, these cars would all be sleepers.
Fair enough. Crazy. Yeah.
Because they're so fast. Like I'm talking even like a 340i, like really, really fast car.
Yeah, those cars are quick too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean the new M5, I think it looks pretty amazing. I
like how it looks.
It's very. I mean, I don't think it's anything to write home about.
It's kind of standard.
Yeah, it is standard.
M5, but it's okay.
Yeah, it is pretty standard. But I feel like if you did anything too extra with that car, it kind of would go away from its character.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Yeah, because I mean,
and stuff.
Yeah, I feel every M5 has been like that.
Yeah.
Even
the E39, I think, was
which
like
is
a very
arguably
subtle, like it's a subtly aggressive car.
Yeah, like the quad.
Business.
Yeah, the quad tips on that one.
Yeah.
Quad tips. Yeah, they're all subtle.
Slight fender flares.
Yep.
Bigger air intake and everything like that, but it's it still takes a discerning eye to tell it's an M5.
Yeah, for sure.
Most people are going to be like, "What's this blue sedan?"
Yeah, exactly. But the new one, is subtle. The interior is extremely nice. I will say one thing: if you ever get into one of those interiors, do not touch any of the shiny plastic black. I don't know if it's plastic or not. Just don't touch it, and it's everywhere.
Really?
Yeah, it's like that piano. It's like piano black.
But is it like plastic or wood?
It's not wood. The one I got into, and it was like a higher trim. I don't know if there is a higher trim, but it was like a sticker at like 130.
Yeah.
So it was definitely up there. But yeah, I was taking photos of the interior. I legitimately pressed the unlock button once, and it just smudged, the humongous smudge.
Ooh.
And I tried to kind of like disperse the
smudge. So you're gonna have to like clean your smudges off
for
the
sure.
interior?
Oh, that thing drove me insane. I was like, if I lived with this car, I would see finger marks everywhere.
I'd rather have the matte plastic.
Yeah, that's one. Like, I know this is such a small thing for such an amazing car, but it's everywhere.
It's one of those things that'll nag at you though.
Oh,
you love everything, but you have your little duster that you're gonna like.
But the new interior is nice. The new dashes that the M5s have. I think you're mentioning you like that.
I do.
What would you even call that? The speedometer.
Oh yeah, the way. All right, so basically, it looked like the speedometer. I just saw a video, but it looks like as the rev needle moves through the rev range, it like the numbers that it's passing get lighter.
Think about it. It's like a flashlight, right?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, it just flashes where the numbers are, and you can kind of see the fade.
They get brighter, and you can like in the corner of your eye, if you're looking at the track, in the bottom corner of your eye, you can tell where you're at in the rev range. It's a great idea. I personally don't like it in terms of looks, but like functionality, it makes total sense. Bro, it's the ultimate driver.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Function over form.
But yeah, I mean, really excited. I mean, was it 0 to 60? 2.8 seconds?
Yeah, Car and Driver tested it at 2.8 0 to 60.
For a comfortable 5-seater.
Yeah.
with a big boot.
It's the ultimate do everything. What can't that car do? You could drive it in the snow. You could drive it on the track. Yep. You can bring friends and family. Mm-hmm. On a road trip. Yeah. You can drive it to work every day. And I think supposedly, I would guess that the rear wheel drive, system probably works for fuel economy too when you're cruising. I bet it disengages the front. I'd be surprised if it didn't. And it probably gives you that highway mileage boost. Yeah,
for sure.
Because I know a lot of the all-wheel drive cars these days
they'll put more power to the front.
Or it'll basically it tries to mimic a two-wheel drive scenario to lessen your drivetrain losses.
Right.
And it boosts your fuel economy on the highway. That's a win-win.
I haven't looked into that, but
I haven't seen what it gets on the highway.
I feel like they as Germans, they probably would have thought of that.
Oh yeah, so the Germans look at the CO2 and the fuel economy.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm really excited. I feel like this is a big turning point, or not turning point, but
you think it's going to be judged differently. You were saying earlier that you think that every M5 until now, because this is
I feel like it's a new, it's going to be judged as a new era of M5
rather than competing, being always judged against the E39.
Yeah, I think everyone could agree that the E39 was the best, one of the best, if not the best, consumer level BMW.
I think so.
Yeah,
I would agree.
I would agree.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a different comparison era, I guess, because I think they're the same in the way that they're both, comfortable, quick. They're handling, I guess that's a little different argument there, but
I think they definitely, I would say, take a different approach toward handling.
But I think the approach is different. How they put down the power is different. The power plant is obviously totally different. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think that the way the transmission is done, it's just a totally different
thing. The new one's paddle shift.
Yeah. I mean, without stating,
you have to actually shift.
Without stating the obvious, you have to do manual. Yes, it's a manual shift. There's a dual clutch. Beside that, I think the entire car as a package is a different era of.
I think it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't necessarily agree with you that it won't be judged against the E39, but I do agree with you that it's a totally different type of car at this point. These are not the same ingredients anymore.
No. It's definitely not.
It does more. It's just a very different approach toward making a car, even toward making a fast car.
Yep.
And I think that's probably a good thing in the grand scheme of things because it means the E39 hasn't really ever been replaced.
Nope.
I don't think E39 will always be what it is.
Yeah, and if anything tries to replace it, I think it'll just get spit on. To be honest,
no, but I wish they would though.
They would try, but I feel
it wouldn't need to be a 5 series though. No, they could make a 3 series.
Sure, but even if they just say they did produce a product that would be a good predecessor.
Look at it the same basic ingredients.
Sure,
a naturally aspirated V8.
I think the cultural following, enthusiast following of the E39 will never ever replace it.
It will never be the M5.
No, never.
That's true.
Never.
That is true. Even if
the product,
even if they made the exact same thing.
Even if it's amazing.
That's true.
They would.
They couldn't make it the M5.
No way.
Anymore. Yeah, that's true.
But yeah,
that's fair.
So we'll let's keep an eye out on that car. I feel like it's definitely disrupting the industry, and it'll be really interesting to see what Mercedes does in response. Kind of everyone else, really.
Well, they definitely. I'll be curious to see the head-to-head tests of the Mercedes versus the M5 versus the CTSV versus the Panamera. And
that all-wheel drive
all
is
of that.
Game changer.
Yeah, that's definitely
that's a game changer.
That's their ace in the hole, I think.
If they did rear-wheel drive only, their 0 to 60 time would probably...
Oh, yeah, it would be terrible.
Yeah, it'd be...
Yeah, it'd be 3.8. It wouldn't be terrible, but it'd be relatively low.
That was the problem with the last one. It's just too much power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, once you got going, holy crap, it was fast. But getting
from
off the
stop,
line,
no way.
I saw one guy, I was behind an F10 one time, and... he tried to gun it off the light, and he just went sideways.
Yeah.
And he was ding, 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 ding. He just couldn't put any of the power down at all. And it was just that's a big car to be squirreling around like that.
Yeah, big time.
What I mean?
Once you lose that, you're not getting it back.
Yeah, you got to be a driver at that point.
Oh yeah, for sure.
With that kind of horsepower, like, oh my god. So yeah, no, I mean it's good that it's all-wheel drive now. I think that.
Yeah.
But I'm glad they did take the time to develop a rear-wheel drive option that you could.
Yeah,
just turn
I feel
on
like if they didn't, that would be. I wouldn't like that personally. I just like I feel like the heritage of BMW in any M class. I would say if you don't have the ability to go full rear-wheel drive, I think.
Yeah, and about and stuff.
I'd be pretty upset. I feel like with Audi, it'd be like, it's okay.
The Mercedes, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, but like for BMW, nah. You got to leave that douchebaggery in there.
The only thing I'm curious to see is like, you still have that weight up front. So like if you turn in a rear-wheel drive, it's not really like a rear-wheel drive car, or it's just like a rear-wheel drive car with like a huge amount of weight up front.
I think the distribution's not bad though.
I'll be curious to see, but like just the fact that you have the extra drivetrain up there, like I feel like it won't, like in a rear-wheel drive situation, I feel like it won't be as good as it could be without. But at this point, it's sort of like if you want to have your cake and eat it too, you might have to make some concessions.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think you can say it's a balanced car, or maybe it is, but it's not. You know what I mean? It's like a different.
It may be a heavy balance. It's a whale, but it's a balanced whale.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's okay. I mean that's the story with a lot of these cars these days. Is they are heavy, they are huge, but somehow
technology compensates.
It really does. It's
seriously
nuts how that happens.
Like if we said this, like this formula, I don't know, back when like just like the E39 came out, even that I feel like was kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean that like, could pretty much put sedan, 400 horsepower down.
Heavy in that day and age, like it's a pretty heavy car. Just because it was
like
big.
High threes.
Yeah, it's not like a heavy.
Light by these standards. It's
totally.
like as much. It weighs only a little more than like a loaded 3 Series these days.
Yeah, that's insane.
Friggin' crazy.
But yeah, it's exciting. I mean, we'll see where it goes. I hope,
hopefully we can do a comparative review having driven one.
I would love to get an F10 and an F90 together.
That would be awesome.
That would be an awesome
review.
Really
cool.
I know it's...
And an E39.
E30?
Just to test the different...
All right. No one take that idea. But if you do it right.
And maybe the V10. Maybe the V10. Sure.
V10, I feel like the V10 is on its own island.
It's cool, but
I love that sound, man.
It's an amazing sound, but I don't think the rest of the car is like...
I think the looks...
I mean, I haven't driven one, full disclosure, but the rest of the car, other than the engine, doesn't do it like anything.
Fair enough. Same here. The looks for me...
It looks like a cat.
It looks ugly, in my opinion. I'm a BMW fanboy, and I don't like it.
I won't personally say it's ugly, but I just think it looks... It's not that, like...
Looks like my
reserved, handsome look.
My grandma's going to go take it to the grocery store type of thing. I don't like it.
I think it's too aggressive.
What?
I actually think the E60 is too aggressive.
It was too swoopy.
No, what I loved about like the E39 is that it's like gentlemanly. It's like it's like a James Bond kind of thing.
It was super boxy.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and then the E60 was like super curvy, and it was just trying too hard to be curvy.
Yeah. Yeah, and the styling specifically, like they put like the crazy grille and like the air intake and the like headlights that are like swoopy and stuff, and it was like it just was like a lot of styling for styling's sake, and I think like the M5 looks better as a aggressive but understated car.
Yeah.
And I think the new ones have come back to that.
Yeah, I agree. For sure. But yeah.
Alrighty, so next topic is Mitsubishi's new CEO.
Woo, Mitsubishi. Bring back the Evo.
Yeah.
Please.
Business plan. Bring back the Evo.
All right. Sales go up 200%. Great. Call it a day.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, but I mean, I think we can go on and on about that. Like, they pretty much killed their brand when they killed that car.
The Evo was their whole brand. Most people bought Lancers and like whatever their SUVs are called because of the Evo.
Right. And I mean, we don't know. I'm sure. I'm not I think it's fair to assume we don't know the sales numbers for those cars.
Oh yeah, I don't know the sales.
But in terms of like a branding perspective, yeah,
and people
absolutely.
I've talked to who buy base Lancers, and trying to make them cool and put mud flaps on them. It's like you would buy an Evo if you could afford one.
And then you buy the little Rally Sport badge.
It's like, why did you buy your car? Because it's like an Evo, man. Ugh.
Yeah.
Like, and of course they try to race you when you have like an STI or something. They're like speeding up, like. Oh my god! But yeah, I mean that was their whole brand was teenage tool bags. It was great. But no, but
so they have a new CEO. His name is Fred Diaz. It's kind of a big move for a Japanese company. Japanese companies don't necessarily like to hire non-Japanese people in upper management, at least at upper management, they don't really do
And now this is corporate, right? This isn't just Mitsubishi US.
He's in charge of Mitsubishi's North America's operation. Okay. But even with that being said, I know a lot of companies don't necessarily have, or Japanese companies don't necessarily have, they have like the Japanese blood has a lot of oversight and control.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that they brought him in. We're not too familiar with him, but some light background. He was once headed Ram, formerly known under Dodge Ram, now Ram. And then before that...
Big American trucks.
The new Ram mustache.
It's the only truck that comes written with the instructions on the front.
That's a good one. I've never heard that before.
I have to give credit to Albert for that one.
All right, fair enough. That was a good
Albert, another writer on Mind Over Motor.
That's a good one. And then before, he was in Nissan, head of the company's truck division. So the Titan and the Frontier. But I think with knowing, some limited knowledge on those two brands and companies or products in general, I think it's fair to say those two trucks, so the Nissan Titan especially, and of course the Ram brand as a whole, just starting off.
Really done a good job.
Yeah, they've done a great job. There's huge changes in terms of aesthetics that they've done. So I think it's fair to assume that, there's something big, possibly I think it might be the last hurrah, in my opinion.
Last hurrah for Mitsubishi in
the U.S. market.
Or you mean their last chance?
Both. Okay. It's like their last chance, and they're putting in all the chips and hiring this guy to kind of revitalize something.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess that begs the question of what is a Mitsubishi again? Really, there's an Evo, and that's the only remarkable car they've made in the last 20 years.
And people still, have you seen a sticker price for one of those recently?
Dude, yeah, they're going up.
They're 35.
Clean ones are, they're not. No, they're not depreciating.
No, the new ones. They charge 35 still for them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
With miles on them too, right?
I don't know about...
Or used Evo 10s in good shape.
Yeah.
Are appreciating in value.
That is insane.
And even used Evo 8s and Evo 9s, if it's in good shape, if it hasn't been beat to shit,
it's
holding its value really well, and it may be even appreciating.
Yeah, I think my favorite Evo was the Evo 8. I love the Evo 8 MR.
Yeah.
That was in that charcoal gray. I don't even know the exact color name, but that charcoal gray.
One thing I hated about Evos was that transmission. There's no good option.
Fair enough, but it looks amazing.
Oh no, yeah. Look, it had the whole package, but I've driven a few of them side by side with my STI, and it's just it drives incredible, the handling's incredible, but you just hit fifth gear and all the power falls
largest turbo lag ever.
Yeah.
Well, even if it's a big turbo, it's huge. Oh, yeah.
Well, no, but I mean, in fifth, when you don't have enough power to power through how far up fifth moves, gear ratio wise.
Yeah.
My buddy's Evo, we were side by side to 80 or so miles an hour, and then he hit fifth, and I fly by him. It just, but that was when his car was on his stock turbo and all that. It wasn't that modded. When you get up there, that goes away.
I've seen 800 horsepower Evo.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure that's
even when you get up to 350 wheel or so.
That's good enough. Away. That's fun power.
His car, I think, was around 300 at the time.
Fair enough.
So it was about equal power with my STI. So it was a good race at the time.
Oh.
Then did a downpipe. And
fair enough.
We actually didn't race after that, but if we had, he would have beat me. For sure, at least in a straight line.
Yeah, I mean, just even us talking about this briefly, you can hear just enthusiasm for the brand, and then now I'm if someone asks me like, how would you describe Mitsubishi? I'm like, without
a letdown.
Yeah, what do you like? What word comes to mind? Like to describe, you can't just say.
I think it's hard.
You can't just say crap. Like that's not a yeah. Like,
I think the best description is that it's hard to even think of a word to describe them. They're that bland and that forgettable. Every product they make.
It's like they're not even cheap.
Yeah.
For what it like I know they try to be like. I think their angle right now is definitely like you get the most bang for your buck. I think Hyundai kind of took that label in my opinion.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All the Korean cars are killing it right now.
Yeah, just like what you get for your money.
Well, and honestly, I think they probably have slotted in where Mitsubishi used to be. Right, Mitsubishi used to be the alternative, like Japanese car, and like you know they had their niche, but they ditched their entire niche. That's a terrible business plan, like in any industry.
I think. I get what they were going for, though, because the market, like, if you see the market now going with these crossover SUVs, because they saw that, and I think they went all in, like, all chips in with the, was it Outback or Outlander? I don't even know his name.
Yeah, the problem is I don't even know, like, the Outlander Sport and stuff. Yeah, they went all in with it, but it was kind of like nobody asked you to. or like Subaru does it, too. But Subaru still makes the WRX.
Right.
But carries the brand.
But Subaru always kind of had that following though.
Yeah.
Beside the WRX or
yeah. They have like the WRX and the fun stuff, and then they have the Outback.
Sure. And then Mitsubishi only had the Evo.
Yeah, they kind of did.
Like no one really cared about anything else.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair assumption.
There are other cars. I mean, since like the Dodge Stealth and the 3000 GT, which was like way back, like early
that's
90s.
like way back. I think
those
that's
were
one
like
of the most
proper like
speaking
almost.
of 3000 GTs, I think that was one of the most underappreciated cars.
Yeah.
I was like, wow,
you can find them.
How do people forget about this?
And they make power. They make like good power. They're heavy. They're like really heavy for their time too.
Yeah.
But that was a cool car. But again, fairly low production and like fairly low like appeal in like the mass market sense. But a really cool car nonetheless.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean their whole rally image and everything like that, they just sold it out. And
it's really sad.
It's like this is like branding 101. Like if you don't stand for something, you stand for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And Mitsubishi decided to turn their back on everything they did stand for, and consequently they just, who are they? What are they? Nobody knows.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, this guy, Fred Diaz, in charge of the North American operations, we hope he can do something to kind of,
it's easy to say bring back the Evo, but like...
I don't think they will.
There's a rumor. They're going to bring it back, and it's going to be like a hybrid and stuff.
There's rumor like every year about that.
Yeah, they're all.
But I'm sure. I hope that there's something drastic. I hope they fully commit to going back to their roots in terms of performance, or they fully commit as going like ahead of the curve.
I don't think they have the resources.
No, I don't think so either. I feel like they have to do that because, like you said, they don't have a. Like, what do you think of when you think Mitsubishi? Nothing.
These days,
Evo.
That's it.
Right. So it's either they go back to that, or they totally commit to something ridiculous.
Or I think of like a Ghetto Diamante with like a big sub in it.
Oh boy.
It's like one or the other though.
Or that I've seen the previous gen's Lancer hatch wagon.
Yeah, no, I actually kind of liked that.
What?
It was alright.
Yeah,
it was a rally art. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, I guess it was hideous to me.
I wouldn't buy one, but it was alright.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, we'll see. So this guy Fred Diaz, new CEO of Mitsubishi North America. Keep an eye out for him.
You got a hell of a task ahead of you, buddy.
Oh yeah, for sure. So we'll see. But yeah, so moving on to our last topic. I think this should be the lightest and the funnest one. I think it's something that everyone can relate to, no matter what level of a car enthusiast you are. Each person will be different, but it's the things you can never stand in an economy car, and I think it's important to like establish what an economy car is.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we have to lay that out. So,
yeah,
like how economy are we talking here?
So
we're talking new, right?
Yes, okay. Yes, new.
All right, so like in 2018, what is unacceptable?
Correct. It's like, I would say a good indicator is the cheapest car you can find at a rent-a-car company.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Well, actually, the problem is those aren't even the cheapest.
Yeah, fair
in
enough.
a lot of cases because they're like kind of fuel efficient.
Yeah.
The cheapest ones are often like.
All right, so
but either way, like the cheapest quality cars,
like a
right?
Nissan Sentra base.
Ooh.
I heard that has one of the worst.
Nissan Versa Note.
Ooh, I remember the big thing was like the 360 camera.
God, Nissan makes some shit boxes right now, don't they? Oh my god!
I mean, they cater to it.
Dude, have you ever seen somebody just in like a base Versa? And it's just like I look over at them.
Hey man,
don't look happy.
Okay,
what
would you pick? What would you pick? That or a Yaris? Because they're
Yaris
in the same...
all day long.
Really?
At least it's a Toyota.
But it's small.
I'm fine with that.
Like a Versa, at least
you could. Toyota, dude. At least it's gonna run forever. Here's the other thing with an economy car is like I don't really give a crap what it's made out of. I want whatever it is to work, and I want it to be cheap.
This is like totally contradicts our topic.
Well, no. But I was actually going to say one of the things that people would say, and I would sort of say, is like crank windows. That could be a pet peeve, and in some ways, I would never want to see crank windows on a 2018 car. But at the same time, if I'm actually buying the cheapest car I can, and I need it to be just work, why not have crank windows? They work.
I guess
they're gonna work.
I guess we need to redefine this because I would agree with you. If you're talking purely function, who the hell cares?
But that's the only thing at the economy level.
So I guess
if you're not just purely function, you're not really in an economy car anymore.
You're on a major budget.
You're buying the Civic EX with the leather seats.
Yeah, I mean, even that's not, I wouldn't even.
It's an economy car with frivolous options that don't have their value.
What are like certain things you can't stand?
I don't know.
I can kick it off. I know what.
I'm trying to think more. Like,
I can't stand hubcaps.
Yeah.
I will spend a couple $100 extra just to get like last year's wheels.
Dude, you know what though?
I just can't stand hubcaps.
Again, though, it depends on your mindset. Because like, there's part of like the part of me that likes like extra hates hubcaps. But the part of me that like
if you get in an accident, you pay like $10.
I would just take the hubcaps off.
God, but
dude,
you look
no, I know you look like you look
poorer than you.
Poor.
Yeah.
But
God,
dude, again, if this is just
functional,
people. It's like, oh man, it's like you are taking your poverty seriously if you get the steel wheels.
Yeah.
Because they're functional. If you hit a pothole, you're not going to have to buy new wheels.
Yeah, it's true. You could probably buy a new Steely for like $10.
Hell yeah, you can. Dude, that's getting around.
I actually legitimately did that. Because I hit a pothole in California in my base Sonata lease, one of my first cars, and then I was like really worried because the funny thing is the hubcap popped off and it wasn't damaged.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it was like scratched up a little bit, but it wasn't like you can reuse it. But the Steely was like totally bent, totally wouldn't work.
Yeah.
We went to some like shady place in downtown LA. I legitimately picked up an old Steely that was a little rusted for $10, and I spray painted it black, and I put on the hubcap. That's $10.
Yeah, hell yeah. There is something. That's kind of the thing though with this whole segment is it's like when you get to the lowest, it actually becomes a game and fun to see how cheap you can do it and how smart you can be about being value minded. Like I was gonna say, another car I would bring up is the Chevy Spark.
I like that car.
I love that car.
I think it's because of Transformers.
For what it is. Okay, well, yeah, there's that. But when it first came out, I went and drove one, a base one with a manual.
That was a fun little
crank
gauge.
Windows. It was the base model.
Yeah.
I think the sticker was like 11.9 or 12.9. It was like real cheap. And like brand new car, full warranty. I think that was when GM had their 100,000 mile warranty too.
Oh yeah.
So like this is just like you're gonna spend $12,000 on a car that's like you're gonna be good for 100,000 miles. I tell you, man, like it was not like set up as like a handler too much, but it's small.
Yeah.
So like it's got this like woozy suspension, but it's really flickable.
So it's kind of fun.
And it's kind of fun, but it could definitely stand to be tighter.
It's like dangerous.
But man, that engine was terrible. It had like under 100 horsepower, and like you could barely get on the highway safely. Like, yeah, you're not in the left lane in that car. That is very much a right, maybe center lane car.
Center lane when your foot's to the floor.
Yeah, like 70 miles an hour. It'll go faster, but like 70 miles an hour from like 30 or 40 on the on ramp, that's an ask. Like you better be apexing your corners and going flat out. But it was cool, and it was a fun little car in its own right. And I mean, if you just need a cheap way to get around, shit, why not?
Yeah.
Full warranty for that kind of money? Hell yeah.
What would you? What are some things you wouldn't be able to tolerate? Like no Bluetooth. I don't know if that's a thing anymore, but
yeah, I think there's on a brand new car you gotta have like I don't want to see a cassette player anymore or like
Fair
anything
enough.
like that. Like it's gotta work.
I think it has to have Bluetooth for me.
Yeah, and I think like it has to have the
in 2018. We're talking, by the way. This
is
not
exactly.
Not
like 10 years ago.
No.
No, yeah, it has to conform with like the norms of the day. Like it can't assume you're using a flip phone. You know what I mean? So it has to work, with your smartphone. You got to be able to plug in and use all your connectivity and stuff. It doesn't have to have a really advanced. I would even be fine if I could plug this in and then just work it from the phone. I don't need a screen that I can do it with, but I just want to be able to play my phone through the speakers.
Right, or answer calls and
I don't need like a whole infotainment screen or anything like that. But I mean, I will say, like, in certain cars, I am fine with simplicity. I love simplicity. Like, one of my favorite Miatas was crank windows. And I love the old Miata because it's so simple.
Yeah, I mean, that's fun because you can roll down the passenger side window while comfortably sitting in the driver's seat. Yeah. It's kind of fun.
Exactly. Well, and also, if you ever, like, go into a lake or something like that, you can actually get out.
Ah, great.
Because the electrics won't be
That's the first thing I think of.
Never know, maybe it should be.
Oh my god.
But I mean, the annoying thing would be just if it didn't have even basic functionality. Okay, so here's the other thing. And I think this goes at every level of car, not even just economy cars. It's 2018. Every car should have air conditioning.
Wait, what car doesn't?
McLaren 675 LT, it's optional.
Interesting.
Because I remember Matt Farah had a press car, and it
didn't
have air conditioning.
I do remember that. I do remember.
Like, that's the stupidest thing to not include at this point. It should be included, and you should maybe be optional, get rid of it. But even then, I think just that for the second owner, like, hell no. Every car needs to have air conditioning.
Yeah, that's
just ground zero.
Pretty hardcore race car stuff right there.
Yeah,
but you're not buying it.
It's not even worth it though, because like half the places you want to run, like if you're on the track in like Southern California in the desert, like some of those places, like you don't want to run air conditioning while you're like, man, you're
maybe not while you're driving.
I would.
No,
I mean unless you're like gunning for every little performance, but if it's just a track day and you're out there dicking around, like I would definitely want air conditioning if it's like 100 degrees outside. Yeah. Hell yeah. So, I mean, air conditioning is definitely one.
That's a good one. There's not really much that I really... The hubcap thing just really bugs me.
What bothers me is also just... drum brakes. Fuck that shit.
Yeah, that's a good one. That is a really,
that
really
is
good
a
one.
Safety problem. I don't even care if they're on the rear wheels or not. Like, modern cars should not have drum brakes.
Yeah, and especially in an economy car, I think another thing to point out is it's really difficult. I think it's difficult to change drum brakes by yourself safely.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But there's a lot of things, if you don't put in the spring correctly, like, you're not going to have rear brakes.
I mean, drum brakes are obsolete, like, 50 or 60 years ago.
No, they still have them.
No, but I mean, like, in terms of technology, like, disc brakes were widely used. Like, that 69 Camaro I drove had disc brakes.
Stock?
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, it was a performance car, but, like, you know what I mean? Like, they were in use back then. Like, why is that crazy technology from 50 years ago still not standard on everything now?
It's getting rid of the stock.
It's not even like disc brakes cost that much. It's like, it's kind of crazy. It's just crazy to me that they would even bother like disc brakes.
Yeah,
or like drum brakes.
Disc brakes are way easier to change too. Way easier. I can do it pretty confidently.
You know what else bothers me? And I guess this isn't necessarily just an economy car thing. It's like cars that don't have a spare. And I say this is like the Miata. My Miata doesn't have a spare. And that
almost every modern car doesn't have a spare.
Really?
And like even I'm pretty sure.
All right,
and
so
it's an extra.
Cars.
It's an extra.
Really?
Yeah, even like I mean, this was before it got totaled, but I got T-boned, by the way. But I had a new Optima Hybrid SX.
Well, that has the battery back there, too. That's why you didn't have it spare.
It didn't.
Really?
It didn't. Not back there. It was in front and on the sides, I believe. But I did have a hole. Like on the... like when I opened the trunk floor, there was a hole for the spare.
Oh, and they just didn't give it to you?
It's an extra.
That's so stupid that they would put the hole there and then
it's
not
$150 option. And I was like, just give it to me.
So stupid. Like, I mean, yeah, I get why some of those like running run flat tires and whatnot, but like, and I get my Miata, like, there's really no space for it. But like, I mean, just give me a friggin' donut to limp to a shop or something. Like, the idea that my tire could go totally flat and I just have to stay there. If I'm on, like, a highway, that's a very dangerous proposition. And, like, it really annoys me that even in the Miata, they didn't figure out a way to put just the shittiest little donut on it. You know what I mean?
Just like a weight thing.
Or it's packaging, I think, really. It's like, there's really no room for it. I don't.
Do they give you, like, that slime canister, though? I know some cars do that.
I should probably get it.
Instead of giving you a spare, they just give you, a can of that slime. So seal it up temporarily.
Yeah, I mean, I worry. I like taking trips in the Miata, but it is in the back of my mind every time.
Yeah, that would suck.
But yeah, I mean, like, back in terms of, like, straight up economy cars that are practical, yeah, not having a spare in a car like that, especially when their normal wheels are so crappy to begin with, with these tiny, skinny tires.
You could probably put a bicycle.
Always have a spare.
Put a bicycle wheel on it.
Yeah. So a lot of, like, a Chevy Spark, hell yeah, you know, it'd be bicycle wheels. But yeah, no, that would be a pet peeve of mine if they didn't include a spare.
Yeah. I don't really think of anything else. Like,
I guess, like, shitty transmissions.
Nah, I feel like at that point you're just like, just because it's such a big component. Like, I think we're talking more like really small, minute things. Like, transmission's terrible. Like, bro, you're spending $10,000.
I know. Like, it's just the way that some of these like the autos they put in some of these base models are so bad.
Yeah.
Like, at least give me a CVT like in a Fit or something if you're gonna do that. Like, because a CVT in a Fit is actually a great transmission for that car.
I mean, I think that car is one of the best.
Yeah.
In terms of fun.
Great car.
Yeah.
I love the Fit.
It has 10 cup holders in the front.
Yeah. And the seats that fold, and I'm like, the Fit, I think, is an economy car done absolutely brilliantly.
It's called the Honda Jazz.
The Honda Jazz.
Other places in the world.
It's the Jazz. I wish they just called it that here.
No, the Jazz is such an ugly name. I'm glad they went
Jazz.
Fit. It matches the name, or it matches the car too. Fit, because the capabilities of such a small car.
And then you can look over at your wife and be like, "Don't worry, babe, it'll fit."
All right, moving on. I think we're.
I'm trying to think of any other crazy things that stand out. I mean,
like
xenon headlights. Definitely.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to bring up. Or even like the crappier xenon.
Yeah, crappy xenon headlights.
It's like xenon headlights are okay, but then usually the economy cars get like, I don't know if
they have that bluish tint.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, usually it's the aftermarket kits that have that, but you can still tell, like, there's the lower quality.
Yeah.
Or even, like, the optional ones on some of these lower cars. I think where, like, more things bother me is when, like, they try to option up the straight-up economy cars. So you get like the luxury options, the luxury trims on like a Chevy Sonic or something, and it's like,
they add like leather seats, and then everything else is doesn't even match.
Just don't even try. Like it's so out of place.
I feel like at that point, just save your money.
Yeah,
just put it,
really.
Like buy like a nicer. I would buy like speakers.
Yeah.
So at least have like decent
Absolutely.
sound.
Yeah, not like functional things, but like getting like the Civic EXL because I want leather seats and stuff. Like, dude, you're still in a freaking Civic.
New Civics are kind of nice though.
I mean, it's okay. The new ones are really nice.
The new ones are
pretty
nice.
To be fair, but that's the Honda Civic in general that's taken a massive leap up from the previous generation.
Yeah, for sure.
The new Civic, I'm not saying. The new Civic is amazing.
Pretty nice.
Awesome car. Actually, kind of want one.
Yeah.
But I mean, like in like the previous generation, it's like okay, you're stoned.
Yeah.
It's like it's okay, but like you're really gonna spring for the EXL and get the leather seats and lose all that money in depreciation the second you drive off the lot.
Yeah.
And it ain't cheap either. That whole package is like
the Civics are getting up there, but they look amazing.
I mean, I guess I just have high standards if I'm gonna buy a car like that. New. I'm gonna buy it for what it is, and I'm not gonna try and make it nicer than it really is.
Yeah, I feel like when you go further down or up the spectrum in terms of cost of a car, you get more stingy. Yeah, because when you go higher, you expect more performance, luxury, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Medium, you're like, like I get a little bit both, sacrifice here and there. And then bottom is like, I need to get the most bang for my buck.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think you get like the biggest.
Everything you need and nothing you don't.
Exactly.
I would rather drive the Chevy Spark with the manual crank windows.
You mean it's not a BMW?
Well, you know that we should. Yeah, no. But no, man. For BMWs, that's the i3, man.
You mean the Tesla BMW combination?
That's actually quicker than I thought. It's pretty cool. But yeah, not like the. And I think they do. They offer like a leather package or whatever on the Sonic or the Spark.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ugh. I've sat in one of those, and it's just everything around you is so crappy.
Just get the regular seats.
Just let it be what it is.
Leather cover on it if you must.
If you really need to.
If you really need to.
Save your money and buy that car for right now. Save your money and buy a better car down the line.
Yeah.
People just try to do too much with.
Too little.
Yeah, it's okay, but
understand,
it's sending good money after bad, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's a very snobby thing to say.
I think our pet peeves are, I'm gonna say hubcaps for me. I think we both agree on the drum brakes.
Drum brakes are definitely number one.
And then having Bluetooth of some sort, some type
modern functionality. Shall we say?
Yeah. But
even if it's just a plug that plugs into your phone and plays it through the speakers. I'm okay with that in a real economy car.
Yeah.
And I also I guess the other thing is like styling that makes you look like a shithead.
Like trying to be too much than you actually are.
I would say like not enough. Like it just like it's like some of these like I look at like a Nissan Sentra. And I'm just or like a base Versa. Like not even the Note. I actually kind of like the way the Note looks is okay. But, like, the normal Versa sedan...
Oh, yeah, I think it's hideous.
It just looks... You look like such a bitch. Like, it's just
you're not even trying.
Yeah, you're, like, not even hardly trying at life.
You know what car actually doesn't look too bad for a straight economy car?
What?
The Hyundai Accent. The new one.
Oh, yeah.
The new one.
That's a great car.
The old one looked like
awesome.
garbage.
Yeah.
Like, just like the Versa. But the new ones, I was like, wow, this looks not bad.
And I like the Sonata. I like a lot of their designs.
I feel like that's not really a base car anymore.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it really isn't. Actually, some of the sports are actually pretty nice.
Yeah. But yeah. Oh, my brother has a sport. It's 85 horsepower.
201, I think. They're bringing out the N. They might have an N version that's higher.
Are you sure?
Yeah, because the sport's like a GLI. They basically just match
the Sonata, right?
Oh, no. Oh, my bad. Elantra. My bad.
I was going to say.
I misspoke. I meant the Elantra Sport. Yeah. The Sonata Turbo has
he has this. Yeah, 245.
Yeah, that's a nice car. That's like, things like my Volkswagen.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
a nice car.
But yeah. Sure. I think that's pretty much covers it.
Yeah.
It's kind of a fun topic to end on.
Yeah, just to, I think we all got to think, we all like to think about our maximums. It's good to sometimes think about your minimums. Like, what would you do if you had to? What kind of, crappy thing would you really get?
Spinning hubcaps from Walmart.
Oh, yeah. You gotta get the spinning hubcaps. You gotta blast vanilla ice from the shitty speakers.
AutoZone mods.
Oh, yeah. Tons of AutoZone.
Gotta put the hood vent on the door.
Yeah. And you gotta have a hood ornament.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Okay, there's another thing.
I already know where this is going.
No, you don't. I haven't mentioned this to you yet.
Okay.
So, like, while we were driving the day after Amelia down there, we were driving to Daytona, and just to like see Daytona, I've never been there, and we see a Maybach, like the Maybach 57, full luxury sedan, and this guy has the most hideous hood ornament stuck on not the front of the hood, up by the windshield. It's like this big hood ornament stuck on there. And I'm just like, you have the sickest luxury car, and you have the most tasteful, like, aftermarket piece of shit mod done to it. I'm like, oh my god,
was it at
dude.
least the Maybach logo?
It was like some, like, family crest or something. It was like, I don't know, it might have been like a ram or something. Like, it was like, I don't know what it was, but it was really noticeable, bright chrome on a black car, and it looked absolutely hideous. And I'm like, oh man, like money. You can have money, but taste cannot be bought, my friend. Oh my lord.
That sounds terrible.
Well, speaking of economy cars, my box are like $50,000 now, dude.
Yeah.
You know? Bargain basement.
Economy car. Douchebaggery.
Twin turbo V12.
It's like buying the Maserati Ginley.
That isn't, yeah.
Yeah,
we realized after we did the 30K challenge 2 podcasts ago, I think. Maserati Ghibli SQ4 is a $28,000 car now.
you can get it, and that's not with like 100,000. That's like with like
40,000.
Yeah, like reasonable mileage on it.
And I mean, okay, like that's a nice car. Like, in all objective terms. Take the Maserati badge off of it, right? It's a really nice car. It's Italian Dynamics. I haven't driven one yet, but now that I know they're $30,000, I'm going to go drive one.
Yeah.
Why not? But, like, it's a really nice car. 400 horsepower, all-wheel drive. It's a great package. But you look like such a twat when you drive a Maserati, like the base sedan Maserati.
Only to enthusiasts, by the way. I feel like any average person walking the street would be like, damn, that's a Maserati.
Yeah, exactly. You either get, like, you impress people who don't know, but the people who do know think you're a twat.
Yeah, and then for those that bought it full price feel terrible.
Yo, yeah, that car, SQ4... Like, that car was, like, almost $100,000 or $100,000 with options if it's, like, loaded. Wow. So, like, now it's, like, 30 G's.
That's so sad.
It's terrible.
I feel bad.
But, I mean, hey, it's a win for people that buy second.
Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah. Sure. But, I mean, the running costs are still going to be equivalent to a $100,000 car or $80,000 car. Yeah. So be ready for that. But you can get into a Maserati for that cheap. I'm not sure.
I think that could be its own segment.
Probably. Sure. We've got to go drive one first.
I think we should do a segment on like the largest depreciated car. Like Maybach would definitely be one on that list. But like anything within
any Mercedes
within around $50,000 to $60,000 under that have seen crazy deprecition.
How about McLarens? Sticker price $350. Like 4 years later, $120.
Is that a 12C?
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually saw one at Cherry Hill.
They still look great.
No, yeah, they look amazing.
They're amazing cars, but they're crazy expensive to maintain.
Oh yeah.
And McLaren just keeps bringing out all these new cars and it just pushes the used ones down so far.
Yeah. But I think we should do that. That'd be a fun one. That'd be really exciting.
Go drive some used Maserati. We should also go drive like one of those early 2000s Maserati coupes, like the real shitty ones, and just see what is like a $15,000 Maserati drive like. Go see how many how many lights are on the dash and everything.
We're gonna break the cars in the test drive.
Yeah, don't do that. Kind of take it easy on that one because that one's not long for the world.
Yeah.
But cool. Anyway, I think we're pretty much done
number
here.
4.
Podcast 4.
Awesome. This is awesome.
Absolutely. So we will see you guys next week, and hope you enjoyed this. More fun coming. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe and all that, and we will see you.
Mind Over Motor Podcast number 4. Goodbye.